Recorded live at Talks and Tasting Studios, it's the Clerical Errors Podcast, the podcast that shows you what's behind the collar. Let's go.
All right, well, from the Talks and Tastings Studios, this is a Clerical Errors Podcast. I'm Bollhagen.
And I'm Berg.
Welcome to the show. So, how you doing, Berg?
Living the dream, making the millions.
All right, well, I got a beverage today, so if you have a beverage, please join us. Let us know what you're drinking today. I would like for it to be a mystery beverage.
Now you have me intrigued.
Okay. Which
is this like Clue?
No, if you want to
Only
know
with beverages?
If you want to know what the mystery beverage is that we're enjoying so much, email us and we'll tell you what we're having.
Ah.
All right.
And where can they email us, Vicar?
They can email us at feedback@clericalerrors.org. Or they could send us a Facebook message if they're on our page, and we'll respond to that too. So figure out what we are drinking.
All right. Hey, Vicar.
Can we make a bet here
That-
on the over under on how many people email asking what the thing you're drinking is?
Well,
I'm
sure.
gonna go.
Sure.
Will you take over 5? Because I'm taking under 5.
Well, see, I brought the wrong beverage in, so I have to run out to my car and get the right beverage.
I'm taking the bet on that. Guess what?
Talk amongst yourselves.
Guess what the failed beverage is. And then you can tweet us. So. Oh boy. So, Peter, it's always a pleasure to speak with you over the interwebs. So
Of course.
what's been going on?
Ever working on editing, getting better at editing. Especially last week, you could tell if you listened early to the podcast that I'm really good at my job and never mess up.
Hey, it was pretty epic. I'm not going to lie. So, we even got Facebook comments there too, which is awesome. So, we have some devoted listeners.
It was all a ruse to make people say something.
That's right.
See if they're really listening. So, thank you, listeners. You touch the places where our hearts should be. So, you're back.
I am back.
Is this secret beverage a secret to both the listeners and those who are drinking it?
No, we will know.
Okay.
So you can get a really cool reaction to what it looks like. Okay. So.
Ooh, yeah.
Oh.
This is going to be a good show.
Have you ever had this before?
I never have.
You've always wanted to, I bet.
But it's super ironic.
Right. It's pretty. All right, let me see. All right.
You guys are doing a good job of selling it. I'm really curious now
So,
as to what it is.
It's pretty neat. I'm not gonna lie.
Oh, it smells amazing. You would not believe the smell of this stuff. Have you ever had this before, Vicar?
I don't think I was ever allowed to until now.
All right.
I have a feeling this is gonna be sinfully delicious.
There you go.
So I will explain the cups that we're receiving this in. They are of the wonderful substance plastic, and it's about right for the show, So
I'm sorry, did I give you too much over there? So just smell it. Just smell it.
oh, this does smell. I'm actually excited about this.
Are you?
I am. I often don't. It's not.
It's not the type you generally.
Right. It's not the beverage I would typically imbibe, but it has a wonderful aroma to it.
Vicar, you're taking your headphones off every time. Does it just bother you? Is it too loud?
No, I'm a little far away.
Oh, here. Just say something. You're too nice, Vicar.
He just knows.
He's
his,
afraid he'll get smacked.
Right. He just knows his place.
Yep.
So, give it a taste there, Berg. What do you think?
It burns all the way down.
Very ironic.
No, it's good. I'm pleasantly surprised.
Oh, that's good. It's good.
All right, I think I actually know what it is now, and I cannot wait to get to Hampton.
I'm wondering what my food pairing would be with this.
What would your food pairing be? This would be
Georgia barbecue.
that might be it. Or maybe this is like having a cigar on a summer night.
Yeah. Nice pipe.
Okay. So,
listeners, I know you're just dying to know what we're drinking.
oh, that's tasty.
So, email us,
That's really good.
tweet at us,
It is amazing.
and if you tweet at us, we'll also show you the failed beverage. The So
I guarantee you it's not this good.
that
Don't,
is the
don't
truth.
make promises you can't keep, Berg. You don't know how to tweet.
You're right. I don't. So that's why your help is always appreciated, Peter.
So, Berg, what are you preaching on?
I have no idea. I barely looked at the text.
So,
We are recording this on Monday.
Yeah.
yes, and most pastors do have their sermons started on Monday, right?
I don't know. I typically have at least looked at it, and I can honestly say it's been one of those weeks where it's been like a Garfield Monday. So,
Well, it's the last Sunday of the church year,
yep,
and the text, we're on the same now, right?
we are.
Last Sunday of the church year. So,
We're like in celestial harmonics or something.
so our gospel reading is from Matthew chapter 25, and it is a parable of the 10 virgins. The kingdom of heaven will be like 10 virgins who took their lamps and went to meet the bridegroom. 5 of them were foolish. Do you remember what the Greek is?
They were morons.
That's true. And 5 were wise, not morons. When the foolish took their lamps, they took no oil with them, but the wise took oil with them in their lamps, and the bridegroom was delayed, and all became drowsy and slept. But at midnight there was a cry, "Here is the bridegroom, come out and meet him." Then all those virgins rose and trimmed their lamps, and all the foolish said to the wise, "Give us some of your oil, our lamps are going out." But the wise answered, saying, "Since there will be not enough for us and for you, go rather to the dealers and buy for yourselves." And while they were going to buy, the bridegroom came, and those who were ready went in with him to the marriage feast. And they said, "Open the door to us." But he answered, "Truly I say to you, I do not know you. Watch therefore, for you do not know neither the day nor the hour." Isn't it nice? He gives us the what it means at the very end.
Yeah, that is always nice.
Therefore, watch.
Right. It kind of reminds me of The Lion King and my favorite song from The Lion King.
Okay, I didn't peg you as a Disney guy.
Oh, well, this one, it's from my childhood, man.
Okay.
So, Jeremy Irons, who is Scar, sings, "Be prepared," right?
Mm-hmm.
And that's really what this whole parable is about, right?
So, be prepared. So, what does it mean to be prepared? Be ready. You don't know when the day or the hour. So, anyone who claims to know when Jesus is coming, guess what? They don't. And so, for the Christians, when we think of Christ's coming, we think of several things. First one we think of is that one, no one knows when the hour is going to be. We don't know. And I like to remind people that it could be today.
Yep.
Another point about Christ's second coming that we remember is there will be increasing turmoil until that day.
Yep.
And what do we mean by turmoil, Berg?
The rapture and the 14 and a half months of tribulation. Oh, wait, that's the wrong answer. Jesus tells us about the signs of the end, right?
Right.
There will be wars and rumors of war. He tells us this in other places, like in Matthew, 24? That there will be wars and there will be rumors of wars. False prophets will arise. False Christs will arise. That the love of many will grow cold. There will be a great apostasy. The Antichrist will be revealed, and he already has in the person of the papacy, and that the gospel will be preached in all the world.
All right. And so the Bible talks about it in a way, Jesus talks about it as being birth pains, that they get increasingly worse.
Right.
Another thing we know about Christ's second coming is that he is not going to come to set up an earthly government, but rather he is coming to judge between the living and the dead.
So he's not going to come riding in a white Jeep?
No.
Oh, man.
Sorry. Or a Hummer.
Dang it.
And another thing we know about the second coming is the fact that for the Christian, it's a good thing.
Right. That's why it's described as a wedding feast.
A wedding feast, yeah.
Because most people are happy at weddings.
And so, you can tell that I don't really have my sermon really thought out either.
I think another thing, too, to really bring out is, in English we have this one word, wise, right?
Mm-hmm.
And Greek has a couple different words. And so people might actually get confused and say, well, in order to be wise, you need to be some super smart genius type scholar, right?
Mm-hmm.
But that is not the word that is used in Greek. The word that is used for the 5 quote-unquote wise virgins is actually phronesis, which means prudence. They were prudent. They prepared. They were ready.
Mm-hmm.
And so I think that's something also for us to remember is even if our acumen is not all that high, right, and maybe we didn't get all A's in school, nevertheless, what does it mean to be prudent? It means to know these things, know what your situation is, to prepare for the long wait of Christ,
Mm-hmm.
and to be ready for it.
Right.
And that's what it means to be prudent, as opposed to being maybe a scholar, for example.
And so it's the last Sunday of the church year, and that's why we think of Christ's second coming.
Yeah, and it's interesting, too, because I learned this from another podcast. The Prussians used to actually call this day Totenfest, the Feast of the Dead. And they would read, like you did for All Saints' Day, read all of the names of the people in the parish who had died on that Sunday. So, which is kind of a neat tradition.
Yeah. I remember doing that at times at a church I went to in high school. They would do that the last Sunday of the church year.
Mm-hmm.
And like I said, when we talked about All Saints, I actually do that on All Saints' Day.
And that's the thing. You guys can go back and listen to that episode. What was that episode called?
Oh, I don't remember what that was called. It was about
Vicar?
Which one?
The All Saints one.
Must have been the hymn episode, right?
Was it the hymn episode?
Yeah, it probably was.
That episode is Hymno Delicious.
Good work, Vicar. You came through.
All right, so, that's tasty.
It is.
Am I convincing you that this, for the type of beverage you like from a different continent to come across the pond?
This is a good representation of a particular drink. That is good.
Okay. All right. So that brings us to our top 12 list. Peter, play the intro.
Enough nonsense. It's time for Bollhagen's Top 12.
All right. So last time, Berg, your blasphemy was on confirmation. Do you remember exactly? Can you?
Yeah.
Refresh what you talked about.
Right. So we kind of riffed a little bit on Pastor Fisk's kind of critiques of confirmation. One was the setting of confirmation, like classrooms, the sort of lecture sort of deal. The second was where should it take place, and he argued that a lot of, at least the foundations of confirmation should take place in the home. And then the third thing that we kind of talked about was the critique that confirmation oftentimes becomes too intellectualistic. So just to kind of...
So that kind of...
And I'm sure, and if you guys have more critiques or if you see some deficiencies in confirmation, you can email us and all that other kinds of stuff. Send us snail mail. Vicar, where can they reach us?
They can find us on Facebook. They can find us on, any app that you get your podcast loaded to your digital device. They can find us on the World Wide Web at clericalerrors.org. And they could find us on Twitter.
At me, bro.
Yeah, at Clerical Errors P. for podcast. So check us out. Tell us your critiques of confirmation and teaching in the church.
All right, so what I did was I don't want you to think, everyone to think this is a comprehensive list. It's just 12 things, because I know I'm missing something. Okay?
Indeed.
So
this is just a conversation
right,
starter.
and the conversation, and to be honest, when you had this idea last week, I spent 12 minutes on this list.
Yeah.
and
it was pretty impressive.
I spent another 4 minutes on it. So
my goodness, look at you, man.
Yeah.
Oh, and before we get too into it, I did try and get a hold of Reverend Fisk, and either he doesn't use Twitter or he ignored me. So.
Oh. All right.
We're just not big time yet.
All right.
I mean.
All right,
Someday.
All right, this is where we need the Clerical Errors Army to step in and speak up for us.
It's true.
I actually had a couple people retweet, and I had one person that said I vote yes or something like that.
Okay.
It was like my most engaging tweet ever.
So
all 6 of our followers.
So I have
right.
two assignments, followers. See if you can. I want the Clerical Errors Army to go out in force and see if you can convince Pastor Fisk to join us to talk about it.
Right.
And the second thing is Oklahoma.
Yeah. Oklahoma, guys. Come on.
Come on, Oklahoma.
Take your vacation there and then just listen to the podcast. People catch on.
Yeah, there's stuff to do in Oklahoma.
Well, we're helping with that. Anyways, all right.
I mean, there was a musical about it. So obviously it's got to be good.
We are very, very deficit oriented today.
Yep. We're super on task.
Yeah. Usually makes for a good episode. Anyways, so I have, based on that, if I were to, and this is your idea, kind of to start from ground zero.
Right, because you're the experienced pastor. You've been doing this you've had a lot of classes. You've had a lot of new members over the years, and you've taught a lot of vicars. So,
right.
You're in a prime.
So, because I have the vicars, I kind of know what not to do.
It's true.
So,
and former vicars, if you have something to say about this.
So, if I were to start from ground zero, and let me explain what I mean by ground zero of starting of the confirmation thing, right?
Mm-hmm.
I mean, everything. This is not just confirmation. This is everything related to it.
Mm-hmm.
And so, and part of it is too. These are ideals and that's what we run into as pastors is we have these ideals that we want to do, especially when you're coming out of the seminary. My confirmation is going to have this, this, and this, right?
Yeah.
And I keep on wanting to use a word that my number 12 is already going to betray. That's how ingrained these are. Okay. But my point is these aren't, okay, this is what everyone should do. But these are, if I wanted to, if I was at a place where everything was going well, I can just say, okay, this is what I like to do. And if I were to think about teaching the catechism in a way at that time and at that age, what would be the best? Okay, 12 situations and ways that teaching could go well. That's the longest intro to a top 12 list.
It is. You've put a lot of thought into it.
So my point is, these are not saying, okay, we all have to do this, but these are ways that I think, if I were going to start from the very beginning, redo everything.
Like a custom confirmation.
Right. If I was going to knock over the sandcastle and start over, okay?
Mm-hmm.
And here's the thing, and this is one of the big things that will be throughout this, okay? The confirmation, the teaching, is not just a pastor thing.
Yep.
What do I mean by that? For example, if you have, which every church does, a lot of people think when it comes to members who aren't in church very often, okay?
Right.
That the problem is, well, it's the pastor. Well, it's everybody's church.
Right.
It concerns everybody. And so when we talk about teaching the young and preparing children to confess their faith in a public way, it is really a church thing. It's not just the pastor. And it means everyone else having a good attitude about it and wanting to do what's best. Because a pastor can't do this all himself. Because what happens if he doesn't have the support of a congregation in doing these things? It's going to fall flat.
Right.
So with that laborious intro, I begin. So number 12.
Number 12.
Number 12 is get rid of the word program,
Nice.
because it gives the impression that to teach that it's like the special program, that it's different from the life of the church. It should flow with everything the church is already doing. And we love that word, don't we? We have Sunday school. Our Sunday school program does this. Our youth group program does this. Our confirmation program does this. And it's all very segmented. And when you think of all those different programs, they really all should want the same thing anyways.
Right.
So if they all want the same thing anyways, then why do you have to segment it out? It should be part of the life of the church and everything you do. So the first thing is, number 12, is to get rid of the word program and that type of thinking.
That's
Make
awesome.
sense?
No, I mean, I've always thought that is like, you get like little, it's like little lodge members, right? Because they've got their own thing, right?
Mm-hmm.
And it's the high school youth have to have their own blah 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 blah, right? And it's like, okay, maybe, but why does it like you said, why does it have to be something different than the church, right?
And by the way, a little behind the collar to our church people all over the country, except for Oklahoma, because they don't listen very much. Okay,
there's probably like one Oklahoman listening right now, and they're gonna be like, "Well, I'm never listening to them again."
No, what you need to do is get a friend. Anyways,
Start a program,
right?
For
Join the Clerical Heirs Army. Come on board, man. We got room for you.
It's true.
So where was I?
Get rid of program.
Oh yeah. So look behind the collar about pastors. Okay. We think we use the example of youth group program. Okay.
Right.
A pastor actually cares less about whether kids are doing activities.
Mm-hmm.
The youth group is doing activities. It's good to build fellowship and all those things. We actually care more about whether those kids are in church and learning God's word.
Right.
So if you're have a youth program, it should really. I use the word again.
Yep. It's hard though. It is. It's embedded. We got it. It's cut it out. Cut it out, man. Just cut it out.
Side note here. Sorry. As part of this, if you're scheduling a youth event, make sure you're not setting it up for Sunday morning during church.
Okay.
That would be bad.
Okay. All right. So that brings us to.
I'm gonna cut this out here, but
All right. All right. Getting back to this, there's part that Peter just cut out, which was a news that really bothered Berg. If you want to know what it is, maybe you can send us an email at feedback. Especially you, Oklahoma. Come on, Army, get out there.
Number 11.
Everything should center around the divine service on Sunday morning.
Nice. Okay. What does that look like?
I'll give you an example. So, in the confirmation system...
Organic outros, please.
Right.
System count sounds way worse than program.
You're trying though. I appreciate it.
So
I just spent 3 years in the system.
All right. You have people who will make sure they don't miss confirmation class.
But they'll miss church.
Right.
Right.
And so because they view it as a program.
Yep. Or a system.
Right. And so your teachings, how you teach, can maybe sometimes have a reflection of the church year. Mm-hmm. But that is kind of the heartbeat of everything that goes on, because if the point is to lead them in faith, where does Christ Jesus strengthen our faith?
Right, through the preached word and through the sacraments. Now, have you ever thought, and this just came to me, okay, confirmation centered in the divine service, and the way like the one-year lectionary is set up is that it's set up to teach the whole counsel of God. I mean, maybe what we should be thinking about doing is whenever we meet for catechism instruction, that we actually use the readings we heard on that Sunday to teach the faith. Maybe,
That's a good idea. Maybe that's been done before. Have you heard anything that does that, Vicar?
I haven't, but I think it would be a good idea. In addition, I think the liturgical movement through the service has a lot of scriptural opportunities to continue to teach the content of the Bible, which is one of the main objectives of catechesis for confirmation, is teaching the content of the Bible. And that's what we're doing, the New Testament in my class right now. And as often as I can, I bring in some aspect of the service and tie that into the lesson that we're looking at, and the life event of Jesus, or this particular letter of Paul, however it fits. But I also think the consistency with the church here, the more that we can be consistent, the better it is for our people. And that goes with the liturgy and with our teaching.
And then it's not so artificial, because I think that's our biggest problem, like with the word program or system, is that it's kind of something outside of what we should normally do.
Right.
But maybe if our catechism was in sync with the life of the church here, maybe that would be something better.
Right.
So, because like we have certain Sundays, like Rogate in Easter, which talks a lot about prayer, and the promise of prayer. Or like this last Sunday.
Sounds like you have a like your wheels are turning. You're.
Well, I mean, now it's really kind of, I don't know. Why didn't I think of this before?
All right.
Or like the last Sunday, the text we just talked about. We could talk about the resurrection of the body. We can talk about the life everlasting. We can talk about the final judgment when Jesus comes back. Right? I mean, there's just a lot of So.
All right.
Number 10.
Involve children from the very beginning of life. And I was thinking about this. I was thinking, at first, the thought that came to mind was cradle to grave, but it starts before then.
It does.
And it doesn't just end with a grave.
Right.
So I was thinking maybe, so I thought in my mind, maybe conception to everlasting life. But then I think, well, no, it even starts before then with marriage.
Right.
So, but my point is here is confirmation does not, or teaching the catechism is not just starting out in 6th grade and go through 8th grade.
Mm-hmm.
And it should be the beginning, from the very beginning, and through what happens on Sunday morning, and that then informing what goes on in the home, and my point is it should be from the whole time a Christian is alive. It should be some way a part of learning and growing, and not just 6th through 8th grade. And I think that's why, by the way, going back to the last episode, that there's such an urgency to teach doctrine, because pastors are like, I've only got so much time to teach them this. Because after they walk through these doors, we'll have Bible studies once in a while, but we won't really get into
the nitty-gritty.
The nitty-gritty like we want to. Right. And so there's an urgency when we teach. But if it's, in a perfect world,
well, and just
involving the whole time, and when
so what, you didn't expect Peter to know calculus when he was 6?
Right.
Like, he actually
the
had
fact
to
that I knew it was quite a surprise.
You mean he actually had to grow up?
Right.
What?
And so my point is we try and get everything into 3 years when it really is a lifetime.
Well, and I think too, like, it's hard because like there are certain aspects of the 6th commandment you just simply can't teach kids who are in 8th grade. Mm-hmm. You can't. They're not ready for it. You can tell them that marriage is good and that marriage is between a husband and a wife, one man and one woman and the like.
And another thing too is at the same time, if it's the confirmation standard 6th through 8th grade participation.
Artificial construction.
then a lot of times, in some ways, 6th grade is too late.
Yeah.
They've already got their opinions, their way of thinking about things already in a certain path, and
It's pretty hard to change it.
right. So it really is just being a part of the life of the church, and maybe that's what Pastor Fisk was.
Right. And I think, too, this starts, like you said, even before we're born. When married couples know that they're pregnant, they should go to their pastor and ask him to pray for them. And that these things should actually be in the prayers of the church, because we should pray for these unborn children and keep them in our prayers, that God would mercifully bring them to the waters of holy baptism. And if not, that he would take them home to himself in heaven. So this starts, even before birth. It starts at baptism. It continues on through not only parents, but also other congregation members, right? It's we're always learning.
Always learning.
So,
Number 9.
Make it not generational, but intergenerational. Stop separating age groups into
Right.
age brackets.
no, that's great.
And we see this is really coming to a head nowadays. One of my sons, Jonah, tried to explain to me what this, Peter, you would know about this. What's it? Okay, bloomer? What is it?
Okay, boomer. Yeah. It's an insult. It's a way to just dismiss what somebody's saying.
And the problem with it is maybe they don't realize it works both ways.
Well, and it's hard because the boomers have been dismissive of the millennials and of the generation after that. I don't know what that's called. Generation Y, maybe, or the iPhone generation, right? And so it's hard when you've been dismissed, and then so you're dismissed. You just copy that, right? Eye for eye,
Right.
tooth for tooth.
And when we look at the Bible and the history of Israel, the congregation was always together, and it was everybody. Into the early church, during the time of Jesus, there was never a separation. And maybe Berg or Pastor Bollhagen, maybe you have an idea of when we sort of got into this mindset that these generations think differently, so we need to separate them, especially the young kids. Maybe you have an idea of when that originated, but I really think it's unhelpful. And as someone who's, I don't know, I'm seeing the young kids in confirmation. I'm also teaching the elderly in Bible class. I would see a lot of fruit in bringing the two groups together. And sometimes they have the same questions.
Right.
And other times, one group has an answer that another group has. And oftentimes it's the elderly would have the answers that the young folks are asking.
And so, yeah, I mean, it's kind of like when we have a funeral. I often wish I would see more of our young people. I know they're busy, they got work and all this stuff, but to realize,
This is why we got to have funerals on nights or weekends.
Huh?
I mean, honestly, that's...
Sounds like a top 12 list.
I know, the funeral directors just hate it when I say stuff like that.
Number 8.
Everyone needs to work together. Home, church,
School,
teachers, LWML, right? Lutheran Women's Missionary League.
Yep.
Everyone
Everybody.
needs to work together because everyone has the same goal. And by the way,
Sunday school.
in going back to the intergenerational thing, the children have a lot to learn from the older generation, and the older generation then also has a lot to learn from the younger. And the younger, they are comforted when the younger people help them or visit them or sing to them. So
Right.
Number 7.
everyone has to buy into it. Everyone has to buy into it. What I mean by that is parents, elders, everyone needs to be on the same page because everyone has their own idea. Well, I think it should be this. Well, what about this? And what about this? And you want to improve and have a healthy attitude, and you want people's opinion on what's working. But at the same time, when things are set up to fail when people aren't invested, and you might not be the way that you want to do it. But sometimes it's not the form that makes it helpful, but it's when everyone is on the same page is more helpful than anything.
Right.
If it's working together.
And oftentimes, these things can complement one another
Mm-hmm.
and not actually be at odds, especially if we've got the same goal.
Right. But I think as pastors, I think that's looking behind the collar here is, a pastor might try something and they say, and people say, well, I don't think that'll work. And so it's never given any thought. And how do you know? You never tried it.
Yeah. Talks and tastings.
Right. Like one of Peter's favorite lines is, well, not with that attitude.
Indeed.
And so.
Who would ever thought this podcast would be everywhere except Oklahoma?
Yeah, not with that attitude. So, you understand what I mean by that?
I hear you clucking, big chicken.
Yeah, it's just, it may not be your favorite. It may seem weird. You might think, well, this will never work. But here's the thing. If parents, for example,
Just
say to
give
their
it a try.
children, listen to the pastor, trust him. And pastors, trust your parents. And really say, because if kids hear their parents say, okay, we'll have to do this, I know it's kind of weird, but pastor wants to do this, that's going to have a huge effect on how the kids learn.
Right.
If everyone has a positive attitude about working together and everyone buying in, it makes everything better. And this isn't just confirmation.
It's like learning a new hymn.
It's everything. It's everything. And so that one, I guess, would go way above and beyond the confirmation.
Artificial construct.
Yes.
Hey, Vicar, find us a better word to use, please,
You got
than
it.
artificial construct or program
Or system.
or system.
All right, I'm on it.
All right. All right. So,
Organic outgrowth.
all right. That brings us to 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 12, 11, 10, 9, 8, 7,
Can't you
6.
just number them? Jeez.
All right. So I am at number 6, correct?
Yes.
Okay.
Number 6.
Seek to create lifelong bonds and connections with other Christians.
I actually saw this being done once. I can't remember. I was somewhere in Minnesota, and they actually had the older guys, the older people, sat and listened to the memory work of the younger kids who were going through confirmation class. And so it kind of like, they were kind of like advisors to them, and so it was a way to kind of form some of these relationships. So I thought that was kind of cool.
Yeah, and then there are all sorts of ways that you can do it, but and really form, have a connection with other churches,
Right.
like your church and my church. I think our youth, our kids should do better, especially having so there are all sorts of ways, but having these bonds, because if you look at some of the older generation that they did do well, is I want you to think of the older members who have lifelong bonds that they've made through the Walther League
Right.
way back when.
Or throwing darts or whatever they did.
Walther League was kind of a synod-wide youth thing that went through high school into college, I believe.
I think so, yeah.
And
A lot of people actually met their spouse, their husbands or wives through it.
And so there is a ways that I think creating lifelong bonds really help keep you rooted, even when you move around and that kind of thing. To know that you have other brothers and sisters who are praying for you, who care for you, and so there you go.
Number 5.
Include confession and absolution.
Yes.
because when
Private confession and absolution?
yes,
Good.
yes, just because for lots of reasons. But you want to get to the heart of, do they believe this? Do they care about their sin?
Right.
And that's one thing I think.
Actually, that's one of the two things that that our confessions actually mandate, that somebody has to be examined and they have to be absolved. Right?
Mm-hmm.
Those are like the two things surrounding catechism class, confirmation, whatever you want to call it. Those are really the two things that must happen. Do you believe this? Are you sorry for your sins and want to do better?
Right.
Number 4.
Teach the art of theological debate.
Absolutely.
And the reason why I say that is it's a good thing to be able to talk and debate about theology.
Right, in a way that isn't terrible.
And to debate it means you actually care about it.
Right.
In a time where everyone's like, sure, whatever, I guess. Mm-hmm. If you can create an atmosphere where the young people care enough to really want to even argue about it.
Right. And I think you saw that in generations past. People in their 60s now talk about the debates they had in high school.
Mm-hmm.
Lutherans versus, Reformed or whatever, right?
Mm-hmm.
And they had these discussions.
And it completely is a change of how school teaches, I think, kids to think, where it's just regurgitation.
Right.
To internalize it, to care about it, and to be able to not only state your faith, but why. And I think having a setting where you can debate these ideas
Right.
in love
Mm-hmm.
is a very good and positive thing, and something that we should be teaching our young people to do. I don't know how to do that yet. That's where the Clerical Errors Army comes in and helps us.
Indeed.
But I think having young people within the confirmation ministry.
Oh, my gosh.
That's a good one. I like that. Ministry.
Pastor, how about formation or sculpting like a potter?
Okay.
Number 3.
And this is simple. This is really simple. And it's something I think that has been missed so far on our list. So number 3 is show care for the lost.
Mm-hmm.
Because I think showing care for the lost also teaches them to be concerned about their own.
Right.
And so I think part of that is why I like the theological debate, is to be able to talk, because I think youth actually have probably, our young people have if you talk about a group of people who could bring the most amount of people into church, I do think it's the young people, the high schoolers. I really do.
Yeah,
I agree.
mean, it can really have a powerful effect.
Because they're more open to things. I think kids that age are more honest with each other.
And peer pressure is not a bad thing.
Right. And then by the time they get to a certain age, well, we don't talk about religion or whatever,
Mm-hmm.
And it's a very formative time in their life, and I just think that you agree with that, Peter? I think I heard you agree a little bit with
I
it.
agree.
Yeah. So that would be helpful for them. And they had to know that. They have to know the faith. And and number 2 is kind of related to that.
Number 2.
Lead them for Christian service within the church. What I mean by that is this. Now 2 doesn't mean it's like better than like Sunday, like being a part of divine service. So these aren't necessarily in the order of importance.
Right.
But so for example, I think it would be helpful for a younger person to be with the trustees, see how that works.
Mm-hmm.
I think the the churches that produce the most pastors from it do this very well.
Mm-hmm.
There are some churches that produce a lot of pastors, and I think part of it is from the time they're younger, they get them involved, and you get them interested, and they want to help, and they want to serve. And I think...
Right, and this is not like preaching, like having a kid service.
Right.
Where the kid, this is actually, they're still in their role of hearer, but they maybe acolyte, maybe they are crucifer, they carry the processional cross. Maybe they play piano, maybe they sing in a choir.
Maybe they're mindful that the little kids are looking up to them and being good examples,
right,
and leading, maybe not as the teachers.
Right.
But
and so these are things that the church doesn't necessarily need to keep running, but they are things that beautify the church. They are auxiliary or helping offices, and kids learn by imitation. They learn by watching somebody do it. And how can we expect people to take over these jobs if they've never seen it, if they don't know how it's done?
And number 1.
Incorporating everything, whether it's education, biblical knowledge, catechism Sunday, divine service, home, everything is just unified for the united purpose of creating, sustaining faith in the life of the people. And confirmation would play a role. It's all working together, all having the same purpose.
Right.
And I guess that would be a good way of summing up the number 12 too. That it's to get rid of the word program, because it just flows naturally from everything you do.
Natural outgrowth.
So
The confirmation mission.
you're trying, Pete. How about I don't know. We could do this forever, but so Berg, what do you think of the list?
It's a good list. Yeah,
Anything that I missed?
No, I mean, I think, there's a lot that you could do with each one of those points, They're kind of like, what do I want to say? Strategies, right? It'd be fun to see how, like, the tactics would work out.
Right. And I think that's where everyone has to buy in comes in.
Right, and so, like, how some of these things would be done, I think, would be a fascinating discussion, like using the church year as a way of catechesis, for example, or what a shadowing program for the trustees would look like. I think that would be kind of cool. So, and that's the thing, guys. You can always write in, ask questions, get some more clarification, and thank you, because this was good. I enjoyed this.
And please get back to us. Help us, be part of the show. It's fun, right?
We do answer emails.
Twitter, we're trying.
Right. Well, we get screenshots of Twitter, and we answer.
All right. So, you know what? I want to do a verse. Peter, can you spin the wheel for us? I
actually do have a couple of
you
questions,
do?
unless you are super not specific, but a couple I'm really interested in personally to hear about from you guys.
Okay.
You want to do questions instead?
Sure.
Nice. The producer confesses.
You want to do an intro?
Yeah, Peter, play the intro.
Confound the clerics.
All right, so I found a couple questions over the past couple weeks on the LCMS subreddit. That really interested me, and I'd love to hear your take on
I
it.
still don't know what Reddit is.
Okay, so Reddit is a place where people... I'm going to do my best, Peter, because I'm going by what you told me. Okay?
Oh, gosh. Okay.
So Reddit is where people can make posts, and actually they have to be good posts that people react to, and that moves you up the list.
Yeah, you're kind of there.
Okay, because I know
basically, in theory, you can upvote or downvote, and if it gets upvoted, it goes higher in the list. If it gets downvoted, it goes lower in the list. And so you only see stuff that is good that people have been upvoting, and not the bad stuff that people downvote.
Yeah, Reddit's trying to create like authentic human connection on online, and they do this by the upvoting and the downvoting. so that the most authentic questions and discussions get put to the top.
I think I just threw up a little bit in my mouth. It's like Family Feud for the interwebs.
And I believe we have actually some listeners who are listening because of Reddit. So
that is, yeah. So
you might downplay it, but, you know.
I might downvote it, but
Yeah.
you upvoted it.
Right.
So
Right. I mean,
so Reddit's exactly in the same place.
the Clerical Errors Army. That might be a good, you call that a subreddit, right? All right. What's your question, Peter? We're wasting your time.
So I have a couple of them, one shorter one and one longer one. Shorter one here is, pastors, where do you get your clergy shirts?
Okay. Well, I can tell you where I get mine. So I get mine from our Concordia Publishing House. And the reason why I get them there is because they're the only ones that make, that I found that have fitted clergy shirts. Vicar, why are you laughing so hard?
Well, we all know that you clang and bang, Pastor.
Right.
So
I have this aversion to baggy clothes.
That's what they have to like. They have to let the biceps out.
Right. Yeah, it's been a good day though. My fourth child and I worked out today. I got 225, 17 reps in one set.
Nice, living the dream, man.
So that's where I get mine, and where do you get yours? Or let me guess. You probably find some obscure monastery that they make mead and sew clergy shirts in a particular while they
Come on,
read.
I'm not a hipster.
They read.
Cheapers. I was gonna say like Almi,
Oh, okay.
you know. The Ecclesia shirts, I bought one shirt from them, but it's a one size fits all, and it's just super baggy and uncomfortable. So, you know,
One size fits all shirt?
it's weird, man. It's yeah. Like, do you want to explain it, Vicar?
well, the best way I can explain it is
It's like a parachute.
my mom went to a Christian bookstore that was going out of business, and they had Ecclesia shirts for sale on clearance, and she couldn't tell the difference between the men's and the women's shirt, and so I ended up with one of each.
Oh, wow. Did it have a nursing flap?
That's it's like a pectoral holder.
Oh, okay.
But really, Vicar gets his clergy shirts from the clothing co-op at the Fort Wayne Seminary. Very affordable. Or I get Christmas gifts from my mom that are well intended, but not often used. So
So if you see a vicar wearing a clerical shirt, right? They're
A woman's clerical shirt.
no. Well, let me say, if you see a vicar wearing a clerical shirt,
Where the buttons are on the wrong side.
Let him talk. Let him talk.
all right. Well, it was a good idea, but I'm not going to say it now.
Be nice to your vicar.
No, if you see one with a clerical shirt, there's a good chance either it was a woman's shirt or the pastor who used to have that has died.
It's true.
Is going to call it to the church triumphant.
Now, along these same lines, what type of collar do you prefer?
Well, I prefer the Roman collar just for comfort's sake. I've had the Anglican collar. The Roman collar is the one that has just a little tab in the front. The Roman collar is reflected in our Clerical Errors artwork, for example.
It's true.
And now you have some that, well, one's better than the other. Really, you know,
Yeah, I do the same thing. Roman collar because
they're just way more comfortable.
Yeah, I mean let's face it. I mean the Anglican collars are kind of snooty, but not really. So I mean, if you're gonna go all out, you might as well get like one of those 17th century collars that's all like poofy.
Yeah.
Like, you know, so.
And the Anglican collar is the one that goes all the way around. So it kind of, to me, it kind of looks like you might have a flea problem.
Now, have you ever thought about getting the bands?
Oh.
Like, you know, with the two, the two white pieces that come down. Yeah, those things are pretty rad, man.
Do they make
But
those
I'm
in fitted?
I don't. Maybe for you they would.
I don't know. Is Ziegler pretty ripped?
I mean, in his brain.
Yeah. Actually, we're kind of related in a weird way. But
Through marriage, right?
Mm-hmm.
Nice.
So,
A true blue blood
Right.
runs Clerical Errors podcast.
so I prefer the Roman.
I prefer the Roman collar as of now, though when I'm ordained, I may choose to wear a different collar on Sunday mornings. I'm not sure about that, but
I had one vicar. It was amazing. I should have asked where he got it. Where it was like a white shirt, a white clerical shirt, and then it had this black, almost like a vest type thing that came up to the white and formed a collar at the top.
Whoa.
I don't know if I'm.
That's,
Yeah.
I mean, that's.
It was epic.
Yeah. I mean.
Yeah. He had to buy that new. I mean,
That dude was styling.
right?
Was this your first vicar?
Well, that was when I had vicars that cared. Kidding. That's when they tried back in the day. I'm kidding. Are you offended, vicar?
not in the least.
The other question I had, I don't think it's going to be that long, but it might. The question I had here is, what do Lutherans think of prayer beads?
Okay. Prayer beads, like Roman Catholics have
Like the
rosary,
rosary?
is,
Yeah.
and
Right.
and Eastern Orthodox actually have their own prayer beads as well. I don't know. I mean, I think external helps are necessary, for the most part. Maybe not absolutely necessary, but I think they're so very important for teaching prayer. Like, for example, the first thing you do when you're a baby is your parents fold your hands, right? So that way, and teach you to say amen. And then it's fold your hands, close your eyes, right? These are all physical actions that aid you in the spiritual endeavor of prayer, right? Jesus fell to his knees and prayed in the Garden of Gethsemane. Same thing with Daniel, right? He prayed toward Jerusalem. These physical things are not bad. And in fact, most people prayed out loud. When Hannah prayed in her head and her lips were moving, Eli thought she was drunk, right? So these physical things are not a bad thing. And I don't think that having prayer beads is necessarily a bad thing either. The problem is when you turn it into a simple formalism where you're doing a Hail Mary or an Our Father or whatever, just simply to get through it.
Right.
That in and of itself is sinful, or as if doing the prayer beads actually gains you some sort of special favor before God.
So what you're saying is, for example, when Luther in the Small Catechism talks about fasting,
Right.
you know, what does he say?
It's certainly good outward training, right?
Mm-hmm.
And that's the thing, because we are body and soul. We're
Right.
human beings.
Right. But if you're fasting in a way to try and earn favor or be
right, like we hear it on Ash Wednesday, right? That the Pharisees made their fasting known to other people, right?
Mm.
Jesus doesn't say stop fasting. He says, but when you fast, you hide it. Right?
And the reason why we're mentioning that is because we're making a distinction between how they might be used as the rosary type of a
Right.
prayer bead.
So I actually think it would be beneficial if we set times for prayers, whether it be at meal times, before we go to bed, home devotions. I think all of those things would be very, very beneficial to us, because just like when we put on special clothes for special events, like suits for weddings or the like, right? These things actually change the way we think. And so having set times for prayer, or having a physical reminder that, hey, oh yeah, I should pray right now, it's not a bad thing. It can become a bad thing, but I don't think it necessarily has to be a bad thing.
All right, thanks, Pete. Those were fun. It looks like we're kind of about out of time. So, thank you for listening. And if you want to know what our mystery drink is, if you're intrigued,
You have to email us.
you have to email us. And
And if you want to know what the other one is, you have to Twitter us. Oh, wait, that's not how it goes.
All right. So, I am Bollhagen.
And I'm Berg.
May your programs be beneficial.
Thank you for joining us. This podcast is available on iTunes, Google Play, Spotify, or wherever else you get your podcasts. Questions, thoughts, concerns? You can contact us on Facebook at facebook.com/Clerical Errors Podcast, on Twitter at Clerical Errors P for podcast, or email us at feedback@clericalerrors.org. Thanks for listening to Clerical Errors. See you next time.
Hey, it's Peter. I'm working on a Christmas gift for the guys. If you'd like to help me out with that, go ahead and email me at christmas@clericalerrors.org. Thanks.